Good evening, everyone. It is Tuesday, June 19th, 2018, 5:44 p.m., and we will now begin the Compton City Council meeting. If you could all please stand for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Let us begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Councilperson Zarita, Galvan, McCoy, Sharif,
Here.
Mayor Brown.
Here. I will take a point of special privilege under our introduction of special guests and request that our development partners for the Brickyard and for the McKinley property, that they would come forward. We have John Turek with Clarion Partners, and we also have our Senior Vice President, Denise Garcia, and the property manager, Nicole Fulton. And I'm going to ask that Brooke and Eric, our extended family members with Prism, come and introduce them as well, which are the actual developers for this property.
Good evening, everyone. So great to see you, honorable council members, staff. So I'm Brooke Morris, president of Prism Realty. I think, without a doubt, everyone knows Eric Eklund, our senior VP of company. And we just wanted to introduce our special guest tonight. I think most people know, after working on and developing Gateway Town Center and owning it for 11 years, we recently sold to a big international firm, Clarion Investment Group. Denise will explain a little more about the company. And that's freed up some funds for us to invest more money in Compton and some other projects. Clarion's committed to keeping the same high standards that we have always had for Gateway. I think they have an exciting tenant announcement too that we helped them put together, so I want to have them announce that and get the credit for it. So I'm introducing Denise Garcia, and Denise is Senior Vice President of Clarion, and she's a Senior Asset Manager of everything west of the Mississippi for their retail projects. And then you want to introduce your team, Denise? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Brooke. Good evening, Mayor and council members and city officials. Thanks for having us. Denise Garcia. I work for Clarion. We're an investment management firm, a national firm. As you know, we also developed the Brickyard with Tremla Crow. And I focus only on retail properties. So the way that they divide us as asset managers is it's within the product specialty, so that we are living it, breathing it, and we're super excited about the Gateway Town Center. It's a great development. I'll be overseeing the project just as I do all the other properties in the region, and John Turek will be doing the day-to-day asset management.
Good evening. My name is John Turek. As Denise said, I will be overseeing the day-to-day operations along with Nicole here from Vestar. Prism will still have will still be operating the property with us as well. We are long-term believers in the property in Compton, as evidenced by our investment in the Brickyard as well as Gateway Town Center, and we're excited to be here. Oh, the new tenant, we are actually going to be replacing Staples with Aldi. Aldi should be going in and open for business around October.
Oh, that's exciting. Another grocer. That's awesome news. Thank you for the update.
Any questions you have, you can feel free to reach out to me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. Well, you've already been with the Compton, city of Compton with our family, but it's great to have you all even more vested in the community. And so we look forward to working with you and expect to have continued success. And Brooke and Eric have been amazing representatives for Prism and have really worked with the city to help lift our economic development and offer more quality service retail tenants to the city. And so we look forward to a continued relationship, and you can count on us all to support you in that. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I could, just a little sentiment from me. Been here, working here a long time. I want to extend just recognition and credit to how great the leadership of Compton has been over the years, and also the citizens of Compton who
Yes.
supported these projects. We started in a place where, in 2004, very few people wanted to invest in Compton. The tenants didn't want to come to Compton. Compton didn't have the recognition, and now you have national firms investing hundreds of millions of dollars in Compton because you brought the community so far. So I would really like to thank the leadership of the city.
Thank you all so very much. Under our commendatory resolutions and presentations, we have a scholarship presentation by Councilwoman Emma Sharif and Republic Services. Is Republic Services here?
It may have to do it later because Don is not even here from the public.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
So if you don't mind.
no problem. We'll table this and come back once the representative is here. Thank you. Yes. Cut them off. We will now proceed forward to public comments on agenda and non-agenda items. And after our public comments, we will then move forward with the public hearing, which is scheduled on the agenda for 5:35. First speaker of the evening is Ms. Cheryl Compton.
Yes, that's my last name.
Okay.
Good evening, good evening, good
If you can just pull the microphone
I'm
down.
sorry.
Thank you, Ms. Compton.
Good evening, Council and Mayor Brown. I stand before you in hopes that you change your decision of closing the Compton Workforce Center. It is so valuable to the community for people that do not have access to computers, fax machines, copy machines. You know, if this Workforce Center is closed down, it's very, very hard for me because I've been a volunteer there for over 15 years, and it's been open for 50, at least. But in my hand, I hold a petition in support of not closing the Workforce Center. It has employed residents in Compton for over 50 years and provided job training and resume building and job-ready skills for generations and hopefully for generations to come. Closing the Compton Career Link Workforce Center will lead to more homelessness and people without jobs. Just, you know, if this is unavailable, I think it would be the worst thing ever. So I please ask you please to reconsider your decision in closing it down. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Holyfield?
Good evening
Good
to the
evening.
mayor, city council staff, ladies and gentlemen. I'm also concerned with that. My profession is, I'm the president and founder of the Compton Business Chamber of Commerce. I grow money, jobs. If you're going to close down, we're talking millions. I just heard a person talk about millions being invested in Compton. Who's going to be working? Who's going to handle those millions in terms of jobs if we close our center down? I want to appeal to you. And we're talking millions of dollars on the agenda and so forth, and we want to close the center. Please reconsider that. Because number one, if one move was made and they put it down near Long Beach somewhere, half of it, a number of years ago, and I can't quite understand the council, really I can't. They're talking millions of investing in Compton now, and we don't even have a sign on the 91 freeway where that shopping center is located. They put a little Mickey Mouse sign up there to appease us that you can't hardly see. Well, let me tell you something. When they took our main sign down from that shopping center, the sign was $239,000. That's what that sign cost. Welcome to Compton. Now we got a sign about this big within that advertisement. My point is, we are going to have to, and we depend on you, start taking care of business. When people come here and love us in this and that, and they're the only ones making the money, and we're closing our skills center, that's very bad. That shows very, very poor leadership in terms of businesses. I know companies that want to come here. I'm talking to them every day. Where are they going to go and get employees? What about the brickyard? All that. And you're responsible. And we put you there to be responsible. Please do not close that center. Please make sure these people who are coming in here and buying up our city, and then you're giving them some too, make sure that they put something back. Make sure they put that sign back out there. And make sure our Olympic rings, more Olympians came out of Compton than any other city in the world. Make sure that looks adequate again. These are the things I'm talking about. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Holyfield. Mr. Bruce Stewart.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Bruce Stewart. I'm a current licensed California
Sir,
real
if you
estate
can just
broker.
bring the microphone up a little bit closer to your mouth. Yes, we want to
I couldn't hear you.
If you can just bring the microphone up a little closer to you if you can.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
My name is
Perfect.
Bruce Stewart. I'm a current California licensed real estate broker and seniors real estate specialist. The reason I'm here today is that myself, my company, and other real estate professionals are preparing to do an informational, let me just read it, preparing ourselves to do public informational talks that will benefit homeowners and seniors in the city of Compton. And so what we're doing is we're asking the city of Compton to assist us in hosting and advertising this particular event. Potentially we'll have companies like Chicago Title Escrow that'll be involved in it. There'll be no selling. It'll all be information that the public will benefit from. Like, for example, there's a gas that everyone has in their home, including in your homes. It's called radon. And this gas kills about 20,000 Americans every single year. And so this will be something that we'd like to disclose to all homeowners, because it's in all homeowners' homes in all 50 states in America. Another item that we'd like to talk about is a law that just went into effect. It's called, we call it the low flow law. And this law says that every homeowner in California must upgrade their homes with water conserving plumbing fixtures. So we'd like to discuss this to the homeowners in this particular city. And then there are other issues that we'd like to talk. There will be tax experts. There will be people from mortgage companies that will be discussing different financing programs, including reverse mortgages. And so the homeowners and individuals that would attend this event could ask these particular professionals any questions that they may have. There'll be no selling. We won't be talking about how good we are. But this will just be about informing the general public about information that they should know. And another thing is that in the city of Compton, many of you may have seen, there are signs all over the city that says, like, fast cash, sell your home. There's no need for these fast cash transactions. A lot of homeowners in the city of Compton are being misled. They don't know that they really have options. There's really no need for these fast cash transactions that are going on. And we'd like to explain this to them. You know, if we can help them as professionals to earn $100,000 more than what they're getting, because their homes, when they sell them, they're discounting their homes by about 35%. And that's the going rate for these fast cash transactions that's going on in the city of Compton. So we want to just allow citizens to ask us questions about these fast cash transactions and speak about them and give them other options. Because there's no need for this. People are being really taken advantage of. So if there's something, we figure that we owe it to the community to do this.
Thank you for providing the information, and I would just recommend connecting with our fair housing department in the city of Compton to.
It's my hearing.
Mr. City Manager, could you have a representative from the Housing Department connect with them to vet the information and ensure this is something that we can partner with?
So our housing representative is Delmontia Green. She's in the back, and you can talk to the housing representative in the back, and she will help. She will assist you. Dale Green will assist you. She represents housing in the back.
My hearing is not good at all.
Okay, darling.
So Ms. Green will come assist you. She represents our housing department.
Thank
So
you
we'll
for
have
being
staff talk to you about that.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
I believe it's Shamar Lucas. Shamar Lucas? No? Mr. Floyd Smith. Oh, okay, okay. Sorry about that, Mr. Smith. You'll be next. Are you Mr. Lucas? Come forward. Thank you.
Just go ahead and talk into the mic.
Did you sign up to speak?
No.
Oh, okay. No problem. Well, welcome, Mr. Lucas. This is the sheet to sign up for public comments. It wasn't the sign-in sheet, but very nice to see you. Enjoy your summer. Oh, he's one of the honorees. Okay, no problem. We'll be calling you up in just a minute, sir. He was so reluctant, I was wondering. Okay, Mr. Smith. Right, but he came. Mr. Smith, come on up, sir. Like what?
Good evening. Ms. Mayor and City Council person, staff, and community, good evening. For the record, Ms. Mayor, on June 6, 2016, the city, in receipt of my letter to request access to Midland Park Water Trust property, the city of Compton claimed it was the city-owned well site, 1119 East Tucker Street in Compton, California. While your letter states that Midland Water Trust provide water to the cities as listed in your letter specific to the city of Compton, the record shows Department of Water Resources in 1968, 5,209 acre annual from the State Water Project and Metropolitan Water District, not 5,780 acres annually. Midland Park Water Trust held the right to extract 57 acre feet of grantors, allow pumping allocation, 71 acre feet of total water rights allocated to grantors. Compton City have no claim to or Los Angeles County or the state of California. May 23, 2017, I sent a certified letter to Mayor A.J. Brown, 2nd District, Isaac Galvin, and the City Attorney Craig Conwell. After waiting 5 days by the U.S. Post Office to return my delivered signature and address, I had to go back to the U.S. Post Office and request when these items was delivered. On their record show May 25th, 2017 at 8:33 a.m. The City of Compton was to return the signature and address back to the U.S. Post Office. Never received. 1 year later, I paid U.S. Post Office $22.01 for that property. July 24, 2017, on behalf of Midland Park Water Trust, we have been very patient with the City of Compton in the use of Midland Park Water Trust well facility. Midland Park Water Trust doesn't purchase water from the City of Compton, Los Angeles County, or State of California. Tonight, Midland Park Water Trust certificate holder, 650 accounts, are requesting the City of Compton turn over Midland Park Community Well System and all grantors allocation back to Midland Park Water Trust Board of Trustees immediately. Midland Park Water Trust was paying $45 per month. Now we paying $160 or better per household and business undetermined. Thank you and good evening. And also, I want to announce that my $22.01 that I paid, that was my property, and that was never received by the U.S. Post Office. And I'm not out here just to give away money by sending y'all certified letters and why it was not returned or whatever, and was no request. And also, I just want to make it clear that I don't know if you received the letter, but it was certified, and we do have records from the post office that they did deliver that to you, and it was supposed to be sent back to the post office and never was. So you're playing with the U.S. Postal violation of federal laws if you want to play with the post office. I just want to make you all aware that you don't play with the post office like that. However, we are the grantors to that water rights system on Tucker Street, and I just want to let you know that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Sidney Smith? Okay, thank you, Mr. Smith. Ms. Bobby Moore? Oh, not yet. This is one of our scholarship recipients, no? Okay, we'll call you up at the appointed time. Thank you for your patience. Mr. David Irons. They're here.
David Irons. I want a Spanish interpreter, and if we got Korean or Chinese as well, because this is something about the water. So can I wait for the guy, Juan, to come down here and interpret stuff?
He's interpreting now.
Oh, he's interpreting now, but
yes.
I want him to see me. I want him to stand next to me so they know what I'm talking about. Anyway, the Sativa Water Company, I heard they got rid of it. They said it's good to drink, and they said if you take a shower in it, you will get a rash. Now, if you took a bath in it, where's the rash going to be? It's going to be all on your genitals. So you want some rashy genitals? And if you drink the water, what is it going to do to your throat? Is it going to give you a rash in your throat? Huh? That sounds so stupid for somebody to sit down and tell me the water is safe to drink. That is stupid, stupid, stupid. If people, like women that's pregnant, you better not drink that water. You better not drink that water because it's going to go up your, you know what. You better not sit down in that water. I'm serious. This is some serious stuff to me. Somebody toxic. Contaminated don't mean it's toxic. Contaminated means it's, I had a lot of training called hazmat training. Toxic and contamination. Contamination means something other than. Toxic means it's poisonous. So you get rash on your body from taking a shower. Where else you gonna get the rash from? Don't drink that water. I'm serious. All you got to do is go someplace else and drink some water. I told you I already designed a water company before, and it's a filterization. Some people are lying to you about the water is safe to drink, and it's brown. Why take a bath in brown water trying to get clean? That don't sound sensitive to me. That makes no sense at all. You're taking a bath in dirty water to get clean. Man, I'm out of here. But the thing about it is, think common sense. If your body gets a rash from the water, what is it going to do to your throat? What is it going to do to your genitals? Man, them people telling you, they get paid to lie to you. They get paid to lie to you. You going to sit up there and don't really understand what I'm saying? All right. Think I'm stupid.
Thank you, Mr. Irons. Mr. Frederick Gordon.
Wow. Come behind that. Praise the Lord. To the mayor, God bless you. Good to see you. To the diocese, good to see you all. To the city of Compton, here on today to once again just kind of state some things that I've noticed that I think should be addressed. The first thing that I think I should address is the fact that my council person isn't even paying attention to me as I'm talking. And I personally find that very disrespectful, that as a constituent living in his district, that he wouldn't even give me the manner of respect as a man to look at me. So I think that's problematic. However, it is what it is. The second thing I wanted to bring up is that, again, I want to say that I think that Public Works and the city is doing a good job in trying to pave the streets and the shops and things of that nature. Again, I like how smooth it is for my car to drive over it now, so thank you for that. Doing a great job. Public Works is doing a great job with what they can do. The third thing that I want to address is I attended the budget meeting that was in my specific district a couple of weeks ago, if not a month or so ago, and my council person stood flat-footed and said that he would never support anything that dealt with homeless. And it's just amazing that this Thursday there will be a strategy meeting on how to help the homeless, when I've heard multiple times other council people pull initiatives about helping the homeless, and I've never seen him support that. I will be at that meeting just to make sure that, you know, it's not seeming like I'm mean or agitated or personal things of that nature, but I think that we should watch what we say. And then lastly, with my last minute, I wanted to address item number 9 here, the ordinance to change or amending section 2-1 16 of the city charter, chapter 2. I was here at the council meeting where one of the council people was upset because the mayor pro tem was not somebody that he got along with. I think that's unfair. I think that's disrespectful, because I think that really at the end of the day, if it's not your turn, it's not your turn, right? We're not in second grade anymore. We're not first graders or kindergartners. If you're mad about the fact that you're not the mayor pro tem, then wait your turn. It comes around again. So if we're going to change or amend the city charter for something like this, then I think that the city charter should be amended for multiple things that should be addressed, such as misconduct of our city leaders. Thank you.
Mayor,
Yes.
I usually don't rebuttal back, but clearly the gentleman who was at my town hall meeting, who just stated right now that I said I would do nothing to support the homeless, is Mr. Lawrence Adams was there. There was a group of other people that were there as well. I said I wouldn't support a facility in the heart of my district where it should be retail for homeless. Homeless people, as a Christian man, you claim to call yourself a pastor. How can you not have compassion for people that are out there in the situation that they're in? That's why I'm having a town hall meeting tomorrow, because it affects our community, my district in particular. We have a lot of homeless people living in the parks, living in the streets, and this is an issue that we have to deal with. As a young father, my kid has to see that every single day. I'm showing them the love that Christ showed me by agreeing to get our community together and try to strategize on a way we can help the homeless people in our community out. So I just want to clarify that, and I usually don't rebuttal back to the public comment speakers, but I just wanted to make sure that I made that point across. And anybody that was at my town hall meeting, they can know exactly what I said. And it's filmed too, so we can also play it on TV so you can see. So I'm having a homeless crisis outreach tomorrow. All community members are welcome. The purpose of that meeting is to try to come together as a community and find a solution for the homeless people that live in the city of Compton. All of my colleagues are welcome to join as well. And I made that very, very clear. If I didn't want to invite nobody, I wouldn't have put it on my social media where I have thousands of followers. This is a community issue that we're dealing with, and we need to address it. So that's why I'm having the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Barbara Keys.
I have 3 minutes, I guess, to talk about representation, ethics, and respect. Mr. Galvan, can I have your attention for a minute? First of all, I want to talk about ethics. I have been asking for a very long time, who are the people who officiates the ethics rules? As I understand, it's the city council, so you kind of govern yourself, it appears. If I'm wrong, just correct me. it appears to me that the word on the street is that the city council members are not doing a respective job for the city people here in Compton. When my mother moved here in 1964, she says, I like this place. The people are nice. I feel the same way today. I'm looking at the fact that ethics, that we're talking about ethics. Don't you guys, Mr. Galvan, can you answer this, or you or anybody? Do you guys have ethics training? I know we do as commissioners. Now,
Yes,
I was in
ma'am.
the store and somebody said to me, not in my district, they said we have a wannabe person who wants to be a, what do they call it, a leader. We got a drunk and we got a follower, a dedicated follower. That's what they said to me. Now, I don't know none of you, but you're following and you're not doing a good job for the city. You're representing us in a very nasty way. People are moving back here. Young people are moving back, and you guys are not representing us. And I don't want you representing us nowhere, going anywhere. You're supposed to go, try to do things for the city. You know, I go around places. I go a lot of places. I meet a lot of people, and I talk to them about a lot of things, and we all want the same thing. And we want our representatives to represent us when they go somewhere decently, knowing how to speak. Look at this. Coming in, don't come in on time. You don't come to work. Who do you report to? Who do you call to say, when I was working, you had to call and tell somebody, I'm not coming in. So we're all sitting up here waiting for everybody. So we talk about ethics. You guys, I don't know. We got to have some ethics training. Respect for each other is terrible. It's 3 against 1. Everybody says that. So we got the drunk, we got the wannabe person who wants to be a leader, and we got the dedicated follower. We don't need that. We need somebody that can represent us. I don't want you representing me unless you're going to come up with some class and some dignity. And I mean it. We got a lot of people. I meet a lot of people around the world who lived in Compton, white people. Now they talk about is how good Compton was and their family-owned businesses. And then we got a group here that don't even go out and represent us right. Don't be spending our money going to no places, doing things and not representing you. Don't care what district you're in. When you say you're from Compton, guess where you're from? You're not from Wakanda.
Thank you, Ms. Keys. Ms. Joyce Kelly?
Good evening. I am Joyce Kelly. First off, I agree that item number 9 to change the ordinance for the mayor pro tem. I told you guys when you first came here, when you first took those seats, we're not on an elementary school playground. Compton needs help. You have only made matters worse and the city worse. But you don't look at it that way because you're probably not here. You have hired back Wendell Johnson, who was here prior. And now it seems to me like he wants to get rid of the employees. We have employees who have been working, whether or not you guys are in the city and notice or not. They're working. Why would you hire a contractor to do the work that these people have been doing for years? They haven't been doing the work, maybe because they haven't had the money, the supplies, or whatever else that was needed. You don't come up here hiring somebody, and listen, people, it's for $640,000 with $64,000 contingency. That's $704,000. How many potholes can you fill with the employees you already have? Think about it, people. You don't always have to be dysfunctional. When somebody say, are you going to the budget hearing meeting? I say, why should I go? I've never seen a budget in my life that did not have dollar amounts on it. Why go? Why attend? The budget by the charter is due June the 30th. Where's the money? Where are the figures? Have no one here has noticed that? How are you going to do a budget? How are you going to look at the budget? How are you going to anticipate? How are you going to approve a budget when there are no figures? We don't know. We haven't seen figures. I haven't seen figures. Maybe someone else has. Asia Brown, you talked about a fellow. What kind of fellowship is this person that you have working? Because we need to research it. And Mr. City Manager, if this fellow for this fellowship is out of the country, is this person coming into the country legally? Or is someone trying to sneak a relative into the country illegally? We need to know, because with a fellowship comes money. Where is the money going to? Is this fellowship a part of the city? You people sitting up there should know. And Mr. Manager, no one of those people can hire or fire anyone. It is your job. So I suggest you get on it. And if that is fellowship is under the city, get them out of the transit center. We don't need to pay money extra. And then you guys are going to try to change the budget. We told you it didn't balance in the first place. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. Ms. Boone?
Lynn Boone, City of Compton. First of all, I want to say, I am from Compton, and my first thing is that I follow the charter. That's what the city is under now, and until it changes, until the people vote, that's what we follow. On June the 5th, there was a conversation between Councilperson in District 1 and Ms. Brown. And I heard the question from the councilperson as to who signed the papers for the fellow or the person that's the exchange. And Ms. Brown said she did. Well, I don't know, the city attorney didn't say anything and no one else said, but that was illegal. Anyone up here, no one up here has the right as an individual to do anything with public funds. The city of Compton does not have a strong mayor. The city of Compton is a city council city. It has 5 members. 4 of them each have a district. And if you're in one of those districts, that person represents your voice. And you need to learn this charter if you plan on sitting up there, because that's what guides the city. The words in this charter are the words of the people of Compton. They are the instructions for how this city is to be run. Now, if your council person is not up there speaking for you, then your voice is not being heard. The mayor of Compton, chairs the meeting, but if there's something in this meeting that these council members don't like, they can always speak up and vote on it. Nothing is set in stone. The mayor of Compton represents us as a whole in a ceremonial situation. That's it. That's all. There is a clause where the city council can vote to give other duties to the mayor, but I haven't seen that. So the mayor has his or her job, and it's not the head of the city. So people need to get that in their head, because when you come up here and you address the council like they don't exist or they're not supposed to be responsible, that is not correct. You need to read the charter, because the council, the city council, are the most important members of this city. Each council member can be a mayor. The mayor can never be a council member. Each council member can be a temporary city treasurer, city clerk, city manager, city attorney, but the mayor can never be nothing but the mayor of Compton. So you guys need to read this charter and find out how this city functions. Thank you.
Ms. Jackson?
Good evening. 2 weeks ago, I asked the mayor and the city council to consider moving the council meetings to the Dollar Heights Center where we could have parking for the citizens of Compton. I keep hearing fellows, I think, is that your assistant? The one that's the person that needed a desk, and that's the reason why you moved to the transit center, is that correct? Okay. Well, you know, as far as whether she's supposed to be here or not, I mean, people walk across the border every day, so I don't think we can do anything about that, because it's not illegal, at least not here in California. Now, when I was here and I asked you guys to consider accommodating the citizens so that we can attend our council meeting, the city attorney brought up something about the charter and the rules, but, and I don't mean any disrespect, but you guys gave every last person that was here that appealed for fireworks, you gave them what they wanted. You give waivers all the time to use our parks. You give free rent to nonprofits. You do whatever you want. You're about to change the charter for the mayor pro tem because somebody don't like the way the rules are written. So all I'm saying is you guys do what you want to do anytime you get ready. It's obvious. So what I'm asking you to do is to accommodate your citizens and move this council meeting to a location where we can park and attend our council meeting. We have a right to. You do everything for everybody else. And what I'm asking is fair. Why can't you do that? What is the status? You said you were going to check into the library. What's the problem with that? Why can't we use that parking lot?
I'm going to answer you, but I didn't want to interrupt your time.
But, you know, we need an answer because, you know, Galvan didn't want Sharif to be the mayor pro tem, and now we're getting ready to change that, and all I'm asking is to move the city council meeting. Like I said, you do what you want to do when you want to do it. And then I wanted to speak on, you know, people are coming up here, but I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room. City manager, I heard a rumor that Isaac Galvan got drunk and got into a fight, and you pulled out your retired sheriff badge and told him to go hide in his room and to keep him from getting arrested. I don't know, is that true? Because if that's true, that's wrong. You break the law, you should have to be penalized.
I'm just going to clarify briefly. The city attorney gave his opinion of the charter regarding the requirement to hold the city council meetings in the chambers, which the charter is very specific on holding council meetings in the council chambers. The city charter can only be changed by a vote of the citizens, and so we have the city charter that governs us, and then we also have city municipal codes. And so when the council makes changes to the municipal code, that's something that we can do as a body, but we do not have the ability to change the charter on the dais. And so the inquiry into the library was something that we asked the city manager to do, and it will require additional security staff. And so it is an agreement of the council to ensure that that money is in the budget to be able to have a part-time security officer to secure the parking structure for the library and make that available on Tuesday nights. And so even just this afternoon before the council meeting, spoke briefly with the city attorney. He gave his recommendation on the number of hours that we'll need this security officer. And so that's something that the council is moving forward on, and the city manager is leading that effort. And so our goal is to have the library parking structure open for council meetings every Tuesday as soon as possible. And so, Mr. City Manager, under your city manager's reports, if you can give us a timeline of when we can implement the additional security personnel, we'll share that with you all on tonight. But we have been working on this item because it is an issue, and we want the city council meetings to be accessible. But there is a clear distinction between the city charter and our municipal codes. And I'll just say this briefly because I don't want people to believe that the council is lawless or has been lawless. When it comes to the fireworks, we had the ability to have a certain number of slots. And so we were able to have 12 slots, and the municipal code gives the council an opportunity, and there's a provision that if there's a lottery and a certain number of people do not fit the requirements of the lottery, then the council can appoint those additional slots up to a certain number. And so the council appointed those that appealed that met the basic criteria up to the certain number that there is a provision for. And so we followed the rules as they're written, and we'll continue to do so. But I do thank you all for the questions, and we have no problem clarifying that. Now we will proceed forward on the agenda to our commendatory resolutions and presentations by Councilwoman Emma Sharif, Emma Public Services.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. Would the council please join me on the floor? And I would like to apologize because Republic is not going to be able to make it this evening. She was here last week. We didn't have a quorum, so she could not get back this week, but we will present them the certificates, and we also may have the large checks to present to the students, and they will be receiving their checks shortly.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. I really want to thank the students for coming back again this week. They were here last week, and we were not able to present anything to them. And we do have some students that's not here this evening, mainly because they just did not have the transportation to make it. So I really want to thank those students for coming back. And they made a commitment to me that they would be back this week, and they're here. Thank you, guys, for coming. We have the certificates to present to them, along with the large checks there. And their checks as well. So yeah, we're taking care of business. Thank you. I don't know if Aon Bell is here. Mr. Bell. Oh, this is for now. Republic is also there. Have 3 students that they're going to be making awards to. They're going to make awards to, and this is for Republic. Republic Services is presenting a $1,000 scholarship recipient. On behalf of the citizens of Compton, a host of family and friends, we congratulate and honor you and pray that God continues to richly bless you as you move forward in your career pursuits. Treasure this moment of success and enjoy the journey ahead. Resolved this 12th day of June 2018. It is signed by the mayor and all the city council people. Thank you. Unfortunately, he isn't here this evening, and hopefully I can find one that is here. Matthew Moran, no. Shamar Lucas. There you are. Yes. Shamar, thank you. This is your certificate from Republic. And you have your check as well. And you also have a large check. So we want to make sure we put this large check out here so people can see if they take pictures with you. So the council. Do you have family here, Shamar? You came by yourself? Congratulations, sweetie. Thank you so much for coming back. Shamar, thank you for coming, and congratulations, and I wish you the best. Do any... Okay. Oh, that's right, I forgot to ask. Brian Jenkins. There he is. Now, Brian received the scholarship from the city of Compton. And Brian, we're very proud of you, and thank you. On behalf of the citizens of Compton, this is from the city of Compton, a host of family and friends, we congratulate and honor you and pray that God continues to richly bless you as you move forward in your career pursuits. Treasure this moment of success and enjoy this journey ahead. Signed the 12th day, resolved this 12th day of June 2018, signed by our Mayor H. Brown and all the city council people. Thank you. And I also have a check for you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay. Brian Jenkins.
Where are you going? Concord University in Minnesota.
All right. Awesome. Yeah, let him say where he's going.
Okay. Thank you.
You can come right here if you want. Behind you.
His mom, please come forward. Okay. There you go.
Thank you.
Okay. And also, would you like a few words? Would you like to say a few words?
Not really.
Not really. Just tell us where your school you're going.
I'm going to Concord University in St. Paul, Minnesota.
Congratulations. And this is your mom?
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming. And we are so proud.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to you as well. Thank you and congratulations again.
Where's mom?
Congratulations again.
Rashila Lamia Rosella.
Okay.
Oh, here you are. Yes, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Congratulations. This is our certificate and also a check. Oh, okay, that's right. I'm sorry.
Can you tell us where she's going?
She's going to Southern School University.
All right, congratulations. Great. Just a moment.
All right, everybody ready?
Yes.
Here we go.
Again, congratulations and thank you so much. And the last one is Aaliyah Daniel. Your mom is here. Mom, will you please come forward? Yes. Huh?
Yeah, come up here. He'll take the picture for you.
Leslie? Okay. Is she here?
How's it going? It's going good. Good seeing you again.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Mom. Thank you. Grandmother. Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Okay, thank you.
Take one in the back. There's
Oh. Thank you. Aaliyah, would you like to tell us where you'll be attending school?
I'll be attending Cerritos for 2 years, and I'll be transferring to Alabama State.
All right. Are you saying ASU? Yeah. All right, that's a good school. Oh, you're going to the South. Aaliyah, thank you. And your check, please. There we go. Congratulations. Okay, and good luck. Okay. If you want to do, you have to move. You have to mail that out. No.
Yeah, that's the same one.
Okay, I don't think she's here. Yes. Leslie Sanabria? Sanabria? Leslie Sanabria. Oh, yes. Thank you, Leslie. Congratulations, Leslie. And thank you for coming back.
Santa Barbara?
Say it loud so everybody can hear you.
I'll be attending University of California, Santa Barbara.
Congratulations. Yes. Okay, your mom is coming.
Oh, congratulations.
Yes, thank you. This is your certificate, and this is your check. You're welcome. Good, let's put this in the back of this so they can start the check. Would you like to say anything, Mayor Brown? Would you like to?
Oh, no.
You sure? Okay. Tana?
You handled it. Okay. We're good.
She can give me those checks.
Thank you all for participating in our special presentations. We also have a representative from Senator Steve Bradford's office here with us to share a special announcement from our senator.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council and staff.
Good evening.
My name is Mila Rahman. I'm here on behalf of State Senator Stephen Bradford to invite everyone out to a housing summit and resource fair happening this Saturday at El Camino College. It's for residents, developers, and anyone who's interested in the housing, lack of housing, housing affordability, and new developments on housing. So I invite everyone to come out, RSVP. Our office number is 310-412-6120, and there are flyers out on the table. Thank you so much for your time.
We will now proceed forward to the public hearing. Madam City Clerk.
It's now time for the 5:35 p.m. public hearing for fiscal year 2018-19, a fiscal year budget, and we need a motion to open the hearing.
Roll call.
Councilperson Galvin. Yes. McCoy. Yes. Sharif.
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is the first public hearing for the budget for this fiscal year coming up. This is going to describe the general fund. In essence, for the listening audience, the general fund is the fund that consists of all the assets and liabilities used to finance the daily and long-term operations of the city of Compton. The city's basic services and discretionary spending are found in its general fund. The general fund primarily funds police, fire, general services, human resources, public works, elected offices, and administrative departments. The general fund records appropriations based on the mayor and council authorization of the resources to various city departments. The city of Compton collects revenue from the public for governmental operations, and these revenues vary by department and are collected through a variety of taxes, licenses, permits, and fees. Where does the general fund revenue come from? In these next slides, we'll talk about the sources of the general fund revenue. You can see from this slide that the funds come from various sources: property taxes, sales and use taxes, Bradley Burns, franchise tax, utility taxes, license permits and fees, fines, forfeitures, and penalties, property use, revenues from other agencies, charges from current services, other revenues, and Measure P, the 1% sales tax. Those funds, those revenues total this year $67,641,177. This slide depicts a pie chart, a breakdown percentage of where the funds come from. And you can see from this particular slide, 17% of the funds come from Measure P. License and fees, permits account for 11%. Utility taxes are the largest at 20%. Revenue from other agencies, 15%. Sales and use taxes, 13%, and so on. We thought we'd put this slide in because with Clarion and Prism discussing our business groups and our people willing to invest in the community, the largest single tax sales contributors here in the city are service station groups, retail stores, building materials, department stores, leasing, wholesale building materials, retail department stores, furniture and appliance, apparels, auto parts and repair, and dry cleaning products. Again, this is a pie chart kind of providing a visualization of the largest source of revenue, and you can see that service stations that serve food are the largest contributor to revenue and tax base. This year's budget, we're looking at changes to city departments. We've had discussions with the department managers and department heads on transferring business license division from building and safety to the city controller. Business license is actually a revenue generating, it's a revenue department. This organization chart, it's kind of tough to see that on the screen here. I provided you guys a copy in your PowerPoint copy. Proposed building and safety org chart has the chief inspector at the top, senior building inspector, and under the senior building inspector you have an inspector 2, 1 inspector, and 3 inspector 1s, and a permit tech. Senior administrative analysts under the chief building inspector, and then you have an office assistant 3 and 1 office assistant 1. The controller's organizational chart has grown with an examination of the state controller's audit report, as well as the reorganization of business license into the controller's office. Just because the audience can hardly see that on television, I will discuss that. The city controller is at the top. Below the city controller, you have the deputy city controller, 2 administrative specialists, a financial analyst, another deputy city controller that has accounts payable with 2 accounting specialists below that person, which is my laser working? There we go. Here in this area here. Under payroll, you have your payroll services supervisor, your accounting specialist, and 2 accounting specialists. You have an internal auditor here, a purchasing manager next to that person. Underneath the purchasing manager, you have contract compliance officers, another accounting specialist, and under business license, you have a business license supervisor here, an office assistant 3, and 4 code enforcement officers, these positions here. Under the general ledger on the left, you have the deputy city controller with 3 accountant 2 positions, 1 accounting specialist, and 3 accountant 1 positions. And these are the positions that the controller requested be placed into her department. We're looking to transfer the IT division and reproduction division to the city manager's office. The organizational chart indicates that under the 2 assistant city managers, these 2 departments will be divided amongst the responsibility of the 2 assistant city managers. Changes in operations. So the citywide cell phones allowance and utilities have been moved to non-departmental. And these are the individual budgets by department. And you can see that we have made some reductions in the city council's budget for the next fiscal year. City attorney's budget has been boosted a bit. City treasurer's budget has been increased very, very, very slightly. City clerk's budget at $954,000 has increased a bit. City manager's budget has increased relatively significantly because we took some of those departments. Human resources, we're looking at combining resources with CareerLink, but we're exploring that. This is a moving target here, as that department is no longer funded. General services went from $4 million to $1.8 million. Non-departmental has moved from $5 million to $7 million. And the city controller's office with business license has moved to $3.1 million. At the request of the council, mayor and council, we've increased code enforcement. The sheriff's department budget went up slightly. I'm not sure this number is right, Mr. Adams. Is this number right? They got transposed? Oh, I see. Oh, the 3.5 million is going to be separate? Okay. So the Measure P money will be discussed in subsequent slides. So the Sheriff's Department budget actually went up. Their contract increased about $800,000 this year. Fire Department's budget increased by about $1 million. The chief fought very hard for that particular increase, and it actually reflects a more realistic budget than years past. Building and safety has decreased a bit with the loss of the licensed folks. Planning at $500,000. Career Link has been eliminated here. Oops, I'm sorry. As you can see, Parks and Recreation is about, has increased very, very slightly, still at about $2.7 million. So the budget for last year was just over 59 million. The budget this year is at 58.5 million, not including the Measure P money. Significant challenges to balancing the budget this year. So we had a $3.6 million reduction in the general fund revenue. If you recall, last year we had more than 1 year's worth of Measure P money. So we got the money, we had the November and December money from the previous year that we included in the budget last year. We have a $1 million decrease in the water transfer to liability fund. We have about 800,000 increase in the sheriff's contract. We have an $800,000 decrease in the liability fund transfers. 6.2 million revenue expense gap. We were able to find 4.6 in proposed gap funding reductions, and we still have about that 0.8 and those 2.8, that 1.6 million in the general fund is some money that we still are looking to bridge the gap on. Significant general fund revenue adjustments. 60,440,204. This year, 56,841,177. So reduction to the general fund is approximately 3.5 million. Although Measure P is actually general fund money, we, at the direction of the Mayor and Council, we have broken the Measure P spending out. Measure P is a voter-approved district sales tax. The district sales tax has been ruled by the city attorney to be a general resource. Auditors have determined that Measure P can be accounted for as general fund revenue. Measure P requires an independent audit. Our first oversight meeting is June 28th at 5 p.m. Bradley Burns is your standard sales tax revenue. It's estimated at $9.2 million for this fiscal year coming up. Measure P was estimated originally to be between $7 and $8 million annually. Measure P revenue for 2017-18 is estimated at $8.7 million, and the revenue for Measure P revenue for next fiscal year is estimated at $10.8 million. Measure P allocations are 35% for law enforcement at $3.7 million. We plan to continue setting aside reserve funds at 10% of the Measure P at just over $1 million. And then capital improvement projects, engineering, construction, and administration and supervision, 55% at $5.9 million. Here are the Measure P capital improvement projects by funding. Pothole repairs at $640,000. Sidewalk repairs and reconstruction, $575,000. Entry medians, monuments, $676,000. City Hall parking expansion. This was discussed earlier. We're looking at other options to provide additional parking. We're looking at possibly providing parking where the Heritage House is, leaving the Heritage House intact, but taking the turf up. South Park, $450,000. Burrell McDonald Park, $350,000. The traffic camera replacement citywide, $650,000. City facility repairs, air conditioning systems, roofing, beautification, $500,000. And Measure P money for the street sign project will be combined with other legal sources for the signage, and we'll place $50,000 for that. Continuing, Public Works street repairs, staff and materials, $450,000. Engineering design, the NPDES, which is the Clean Water Act requirements by the state imposed on the city, $330,000. Additional code enforcement at $128,000. The graffiti removal contract must come from the general fund. That's $200,000 from Measure P. And then our liability insurance premium is at $740,000 for a total of $1.8 million. The total CIP for Measure P is $5.9 million. Here are other capital improvement projects and the funding sources of those projects. Cesar Chavez Park, approximately $100,000 out of Community Development Block Grant. Central Avenue, Prop C, $2 million. Wilmington Avenue, $2 million under Proposition C funds. Compton Boulevard East and West, those both come out of Highway Safety Improvement Funds and Prop C. Street improvements, residential, Community Development Block Grant and Section 108 and SB1 funds at $4.2 million. Traffic signs and lighting, $200,000 from the Landscape and Lighting District. Sewer improvements from $800,000 from the Sewer Capital Improvement Fund, and water improvements at $3 million from the Water CIP. This is a Measure P expense summary. Again, we discussed the entire $10 million. Law enforcement, 3.7. The reserve at $1 million, just over $1 million. Capital improvement projects at just over $4 million. Street repairs and operations, $450,000. Engineering design, $330,000. Code enforcement, $128,000. Graffiti removal, $200,000. Liability insurance premiums at $740,000. This is just a graphic detail of the expense summary for the Measure P funds. And that concludes the presentation portion, and I want to thank the Controller, Ms. Rafaela King, the Assistant City Manager, Mr. Lawrence Adams, the Budget Officer, Trafina Simmons, all the department heads who participated in at least up to this point of trying to prepare a budget for you guys to examine, as well as the city attorney and the city clerk's office, as well as the treasurer's office. And they are here to answer any questions in any further detail.
We'll now open the floor for comments from the residents. This is the city manager's proposed budget, and the council will have an opportunity to make our comments after any available public comments. So please come forward, sir, and just state your name for the record.
Rodney Lister, and I have a question. I'm not sure it could be answered right now, but I'm going through the budget and looking at the CIP projects, and I see street improvements, and it mentions CDBG Section 108. My understanding of Section 108 funding is that you go to HUD and you ask permission to allocate for a period of certain years your block grant funds. So that could have been put in place 2 or 3 years ago, or maybe the first year. Is it possible to find out when that request was made and for how many years that block grant funding is obligated? Probably not tonight, but if I could find out where to go look it up. And my second question is regarding law enforcement. If my understanding is correct, with the sheriffs, it's a multi-year contract, right? You don't just year to year enter into a new agreement. So each year it's going to be always an increase for their salaries increasing and things of that things of that nature. So if it's possible to find out how long that particular or the current agreement is for,
Okay.
and I can look it up myself, just need to know where to go look for it.
Okay.
All right.
So you, just to clarify, you would like to know what the remaining, how many years are remaining in the sheriff's contract?
Yes.
They're usually 5-year contracts. And then also you need to know when we did the Section 108 and the Community Development Block Grant, when the application was for that.
Yes, because normally it's for a certain period of time, and then when it's
Right.
over, you know, all the funds are paid back. You can do new stuff with your block grant funds.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, and I just would request that if there are specific inquiries by the residents, that we post the information as well on the website, since it is a public hearing. And that way they can pull that information up as well. Are there any additional members of the public that wish to speak to the public hearing? May we have a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
Roll call?
Councilperson Galvin?
Yes.
McCoy? Yes. Sharif?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Another hearing.
So do we need to rescind our motion to close?
Yes.
May we rescind the motion to close the public hearing, and then we will actually continue the hearing instead?
I will withdraw.
Thank you.
Galvin?
Councilman?
Yeah, I'll withdraw my second.
Thank you.
Okay, so then we need a motion to continue.
So move.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilperson Galvin?
Yes.
McCoy? Yes. Sharif?
Yes.
Mayor Brown?
Yes.
It's continued, yes.
Council comments on the first presentation? Any council comments? Okay.
Mr. City Manager, I see that you said that it's about $1.6 million in the general fund that needs to be reduced. What areas are you looking in? Are you guys still researching it and have to bring it back to us?
Madam Mayor Pro Tem, we are, that's a significant gap we have to fill, so we're looking at all options, including possible reductions or in staffing and operations and maintenance, O&M.
Operation and maintenance and staff reduction?
What we have to, actually. We almost have no choice. So those are things that we are considering.
Okay. All right, we'll talk about that. And I did have another question. If you have one,
Okay, I'll move on with my question if you don't mind.
Go right ahead.
Please forward. There were some concerns, Mr. City Manager, in regards to the Career Link, and I'm just wondering if you are actually moving Career Link into the Human Resources Department. I'm just wondering the work that they are that was happening there at the Career Link. What happens to that work? Do we have someone else that would pick that up and continue it, or how would that be addressed?
Council Lady, that CareerLink used to be grant funded. It is no longer grant funded. It is entirely funded by the general fund. What CareerLink does is provided by the County of Los Angeles and through the Workforce Investment Board that is over in Rancho Dominguez. So there's actually duplicative work going on with CareerLink. So we're looking at, when I say we're exploring all options to try to bridge this fiscal gap, one of the things we really have to take a look at is, can we afford to fund functions that are duplicative in nature and also funded by someone else or another entity, and can we incorporate the resources of that staff into other parts of the city?
So, okay, I understand what you're saying. So the accessibility is going to may become a question of the citizens being able to the place where the workforce accessibility as far as our citizens. Is that
The only difference will be that they will have to go to a different location. The work that is done there, learning how to write resumes, doing job preparation, surfing the internet for while looking for jobs, career counseling, things like that. Those services are provided just at another location and by another entity. There are also community-based organizations such as Volunteers of America that do similar services too under grant funding.
I would like to ask another question, but it has to do with the Measure P, the CIP projects, because I'm getting, people are asking me about the CIP projects for the Measure P, and I know we have $4 million set aside, and they just want to make sure, they just want to understand the projects that is being presented here. This is people that's home watching TV, because it wasn't clear to them, so would you just clarify to them the projects that's going to be under that Measure P for that $4 million, allocated for that under that $4 million.
So that exercise will take place when we, as we move forward with the budget, and we will poll the council publicly, and using the pavement management plan to look at our worst areas in the city, and try to be equitable in terms of how we combine, how we spend those funds and do those major capital improvement projects in a fair and equitable way for the entire council.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, before the next council person, I just wanted to pick up something on the career link that for information for the council's sake. About 20 years ago, Southern California Edison gave us that property, and I believe it was based upon the career link operating out of there, but that's something maybe that the city attorney made to look into, because they put certain conditions and stuff on the property there. So that's something you might want to look into.
Thank you, Mr. City Treasurer. Mr. City Attorney, could you verify if there are any restrictions on the property? Yes, it is. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. City Manager, I noticed that you said, we're going out for some contracts for some of the pothole repairs and all of that, but wherever possible, can we make sure that we do utilize our public works staff and make sure that they're trained so that they can do some of the work that we need to be done? I know that we don't have enough staff to do the major projects, but the projects that they can do, can we make sure that our public works staff is doing those jobs?
Mayor Pro Tem and Council, yes, we will do that, and we also continue to have, right now we don't have the pothole contract, and potholes are being filled, and I appreciate the efforts of public works staff. The contract is really to put forth a much more aggressive and robust manner to address these issues, because we receive a number of civil claims, a number of citizen complaints that you guys all get from the number of potholes, and we're just simply trying to stabilize the streets, and we want to do it in a much more robust manner, given that these folks will actually augment public works in what they do.
I agree, I understand that, but I'm just saying, just make sure that we utilize them whenever we can.
Okay.
Any additional council comments? I have a couple questions. I'll actually start. Oh, please.
Madam Mayor, I know I'm not council, but I do have a department and I have a budget. So I have a question and I have a concern, the same concern and question I had last year. The city manager is choosing to take reproduction out of my department. And I just want to ask the question again, why? City manager had a by the way conversation with me that it was a burden on me and it was forced on me, which is not true. So I just want to know why this again? Why are we going through this? What's the real reason the department is, or that division is being taken from the city clerk's office? Just tell me. I don't like surprises. We should be able to talk about this. And also, I don't know if this is the proper hearing, because I take no thought for tomorrow because it's not promised. But I did have a conversation with the city manager, and I'm requesting and if it's for the next meeting or hearing, let me know. But I'm requesting to delete administrative specialists out of my department and add a deputy city clerk, because I feel that I need another line of supervision, because currently if I'm out of the office and my chief deputy is out of the office, I have no supervision. Things just stop. So I think I need another level of supervision. So I haven't heard back from the budget team, but I want to put that out publicly, and maybe they'll answer me from there. And also, this is the last thing I want to say about this. This book here is in my office, and this book to me represents families' lives. I've seen 1 by 1, 2 by 2, 3 by 3 employees come in weekly, daily, reviewing this budget. And I haven't really talked to them, but I hear their conversations, and some of them, their positions are actually eliminated from the budget. I think that is wrong, because you're messing with people's lives. If there's some other budget coming out, but it's unfair for an employee to come in and see that their position is taken out of the budget without a conversation. So I'm just saying, I'm pleading to the council to view this document and line by line and pay attention to the positions that are being eliminated, because it's people's lives, it's family, it's their families. And you know, you say you always get blamed, and you will be blamed for that. So, but you should know, you know, positions are taken out. And so anyway, that's my nickel's worth.
Thank you. Just to that point, I would like, as just a summary, it's hard to make a distinction when we're looking at the proposed organization chart as to which positions have been moved or which positions are existing, so that we can identify which are added, bolded, some type of distinction, because I just see an org chart and I can't make a distinction based on what's presented. Also, in the past, we've had a summary of our budget in terms of existing positions, either added or deleted, so the council would also need that for each department to ensure that we're clear as to the levels of our personnel. Because I made a couple notations to that point on, when I look, for instance, at building and safety, and I see a reduction in $500,000 annually, it's a red flag for me, knowing that we have more development than we've had in years past, and to make an elimination or reduction in building and safety and not to really have the background information on that is something that I would need further clarification. Same thing with planning. I see a $400,000 reduction approximately. Same thing with CareerLink. I understand that we do have duplicative services, and in the past, CareerLink has been grant funded. But I'd like to be able to get a full impact as to where those services will be rerouted to and where those staff members will be rerouted to as well, just so that we're all clear and on one page to ensure that there's minimal impact to the residents and the employees.
Madam Mayor, while you're looking, I just want stated about my budget, the increase, and I just wanted to be stated that there's an increase in my budget due to an upcoming election in 2019.
Okay, thank you.
Increase due to what? I couldn't
I'm
hear.
sorry, election,
No, oh,
in
okay.
2019 election. So I
Okay.
just wanted, there's a big jump, and I just wanted to publicly state why there was an increase.
Because I was wondering what that jump was.
Yes, it's an election budget.
Thank you.
Yes.
And if you don't mind just providing Mr. City Manager some clarity on building and safety. I'm looking at the organizational chart. I can't make a distinction between if there are new positions or if this is existing staff that we're rolling over to the new fiscal year. Because I know we've had discussions about adding an additional person to the counter to help with processing business licenses and permits and different things to make the city just more business friendly. So where are we with that?
Mayor, the Building and Safety Department, right now they manage business license. So with all that staff moving over to the controller's office, that's where you see your cuts. We haven't really added anyone to Building and Safety to that. So it looks dramatically cut, but there are, a significant number of people in business license.
Do you explain why we're moving this to the controller's office? Because from a functionality standpoint, I don't know if anyone has ever taken the time to go actually pull a business license in the city of Compton, but I have. And when I tell you that you have to go to one counter, they have to give you an amount, then you have to go to the treasurer's office, then you have to go back to Building and Safety, then you have to go, I went to the treasurer's office 4 times to process, and that is just completely unacceptable. We have to find a better way. And so now we're saying that I'm going to have to go up an elevator or up, that doesn't work, by the way, or a flight of stairs to process. That's just not, it's not acceptable for the business community. It's not. We should be trying to find out how can we add a kiosk to accept electronic payments, to eliminate cash. I mean, I just need to know what the strategy is, because this does not tell me that the city is going to be more business friendly. I'm really concerned about this.
I think we're on the same page. We've had discussions about that very process. I've heard your frustration repeated by other folks trying to do business in the city. I spoke to the controller about having the business license folks, at least one person at the counter to deal with the traffic. We're also looking at providing an ability for customers to pay for their services at the counter rather than having to go back to their treasurer's office. So we're looking at streamlining. We're looking at kiosks also. I don't disagree with you, and we are looking at streamlining that without adding too much to the budget. I don't think it'll be that significant to add the card readers and things like that. And we are very aware and conscious about folks having to travel up and down the stairs. There's also security reasons for that. So we're aware of that, and then we will certainly include that in the budget for your consideration.
Okay, but I'm still not clear as to what is the rationale for moving business license to the controller's office?
Business license is a revenue department.
I understand that.
As the controller, she's in charge of funds here in the city. And just the chief building inspector is not going to be as adept or trained in dealing with revenues, sending collections and things like that. I think the chief building inspector would be better served doing chief building inspector work and let the collections and revenue be addressed by the controller. We had a discussion with the controller. However, that being said, it is up to whatever the council feels is in the best interest of the customer, that being the citizens. It's up to this body. We just feel more confident and would like the controller to be in charge of revenue coming into the city.
But the controller, and she does a phenomenal job at what she does. I don't believe that that business license has to physically be in the controller's office for her to oversee collections. When I just think about best practices and what's happening as a standard for other cities, I've never heard of this before. And building and safety and business license and planning, they should be under one umbrella. They really should, because now we're compartmentalizing different things, and I don't think that we're keeping the customer in mind. And we really have to put the customers first, because our residents and our business community, they're what keep the lights on here. And so I believe that there definitely needs to be controller oversight to business license in terms of the collections, but that does not require business license being in the controller's office.
You mean physically?
Physically, or even administratively. I just think that there has to be some type of, from a financial controls perspective, we're going to have to look at the functions of the treasurer, the controllers, and all the financial services as one umbrella. And I know that some people, feel like this is my department, but at the end of the day, we serve the citizens of Compton, so we have to get out of this kingdom mentality and think about what's best and what our best practices and implement those. Because we're not efficient here. And we need to get on the pathway to become efficient. And people grabbing different things because they want them, or because we think that, we can work easier with them, that's just not the best way to operate the city. And this is my opinion.
Okay. The controller's here. If you, Ms. King, if you would mind explaining the rationale for bringing business license to your office. We had a discussion about that, and I agree, it's not about kingdom building or any of that. It's really trying to really deal with the state controller's audit.
I understand, and I know that there are pressures, and let me just clarify for the public. My comments are not directed towards you as a person or a city manager or even to the controller. I'm just saying as a unit that we need to make sure that we're keeping the customer in mind, because I actually saw the city manager when I was in one of my trips to the treasurer's office, and in one of 4. So that just can't be the standard moving forward. It just cannot. So if you could just share with me how you're going to help streamline
Before she speak,
what's going
Mayor,
on.
can I just make
If you don't mind, I would just like her to answer my question, and then we can have you speak.
Originally, we were considering having everyone move upstairs, just so that there is consistent oversight in one place. But as we've been talking and looking at the whole, basically how many different places you're going, we did decide to keep the majority of them downstairs for the administrative purposes. And we'll have basically offices or desks upstairs for them as well.
Okay.
But the majority will be downstairs so that they actually are able to assist the citizens more readily.
Okay. So the customer service component will remain on the first floor?
Yes.
Thank you for the clarification. I thought that the entire department was being moved to the second
We
floor.
thought about, I thought about that, we all thought about that, because I was thinking as far as department-wise, to know that there is a difference and actually put it all in one piece. But when we started thinking more functionally what's best, we decided to leave most of it downstairs.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Yes, ma'am, because my goal is to make sure that we streamline this process, because it is very, very frustrating for people who are coming in trying to do business, and they contact their council people
Yes, they do.
when they have issues, and, and all I can do is say, we're working on it. So
Yeah, and we are
please
looking
need to-
into the credit card thing so that we have them stationed around the city, which will make taking payments via credit card a little smoother, so they won't have to make several different trips, whether it's at the fire station or Dollar Hyde or building and safety. So we are looking into that, so we're doing the research behind it. So our goal is to try and get that worked out this year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Because from the user's perspective, you actually have to provide 2 separate forms of payment for the same transaction. And possibly 3, depending on if you're working with a contractor that needs to get a business license. And so it just shouldn't be this way in 2018. And so what I'd like to see, Mr. City Manager, and the controller, because you're going to be a component of this, but we need the kiosks that actually, and when people come into planning and building, to the department as a whole, they should be able to come to a screen and dictate what it is that they're actually going to be doing that day. If it's something simple like getting a business license, then we should be able to get those people in and out, because what happens is you walk into this department and there are people sitting there. Some people only need 5 minutes of staff time, and while others may need an hour or 20 minutes, but we should be trying to get people in and out. And so if there's one person that can just do a quick service and get people in and out, and if there's one person that can be, more detailed and intricate, then I just want to see us be more efficient. But we need the software and the technology to be able to process this. And so, and it's a minor investment to be able to be more efficient, and we really need to use that, because at the end of the day, all cities are faced with the same challenges: rising costs. Sometimes your revenues are flatline or decreased depending on what's happening at the state or federal level. So we have to do more with less, and we need to really rely on more technology to streamline how the city functions and operates.
Mayor Brown, thank you, because I know previously we were discussing, there had been some type of discussion going on as far as trying to make sure that the people that wanted to get a license, that they would be able to go online and do a lot of the work, fill a lot of the paperwork out online, which means I think they would cut down the long lines and people standing there for such a long time doing a business license. And so at one time, I know that discussion was going on. I'm just wondering, are we still moving in that direction as far as trying to get those things done?
I'm going to ask Mr. City Manager if you could talk about that, and what's the ETA to implementing that? Because that's really like a bare minimum standard. You should be able to get a business license online.
Now, may I speak?
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. I didn't mean to bypass you.
First and foremost, you're looking at a person who had 10 years of running a business license in the treasurer's office until, as usual, politics took place. But the business license department was housed for over 10 years in the treasurer's office. Number two, your citizen serve that's in the building and safety and some business license, they handle all of that. It's already in the software. It just need people to know how to turn it on. It's been available for almost 3.5 years. I had to reach out to another person to understand that, and I'm waiting for some more information to help educate those folks over in the business department. But they have the access for, say for instance, you went in to go do a business, stuff like that. They should be able to just turn the screen around,
Exactly.
punch your key thing in, and the transaction over with. There's a limited amount when they originally were trying to do that, to do some online transaction that didn't require people to come inside City Hall at all, like for hot water heaters and stuff like that. And they can produce and do some other, you need a person full-time to go through all this stuff that get uplifted, or I mean, not uplifted, updated on the software, so they can generate certificates or whatever, that kind of stuff. So that's on their end. But I've already set up an account for them to do that, but nothing has taken place over maybe I would say 8 or 9 months.
Okay, well, thank you for the clarity and the insight. So I think from the council's perspective, I would like a representative from Citizen Serve to just come do a presentation on what the software can do, since we've purchased the software. And that way we can be apprised of what we should be holding everyone accountable to in terms of the training schedule, because I know it's just a component of training and getting people up to speed on how to implement the different options.
Yeah, Mayor, and you know, we're not trying to put anybody down. I think that because there are some changes in there, and then you have some folks that are not so much trained, because actually before that other person that was running the department, it's been in our system for a couple of years. And so when they started digging into it, we really had all that stuff available. And what they were trying to do is to start on a small end and then branch out, because I believe that's also on the same system with business license department as well.
Well, I think that, thank you, Mr. Treasurer, that's some invaluable information. I think that bringing forward the software company and getting an idea of what the options are, and then the council can identify what our priorities are in terms of implementing and training. And we need to actually get a timeline and schedule as to when we'll be at full functionality for the software. And that way we can stay on one page and actually achieve our goals of implementing some of these options.
And the business license department in the treasurer's office, you did have the treasurer running the business license department for over a decade. So if anybody has any experience in running that department, you're looking at them.
But thank you for your further insight. I have one additional question regarding building and safety. So I know that there was discussions about adding an additional, I don't know if it was going to be an inspector or a permit technician, basically someone that's available at the counter to process people coming in. I know that we've had like some development impact fees. We've had some other items come forward that should be able to pay for an additional person, because from my personal experience, there was one person available to process a whole host of folks, and then there are certain people that were, one person designated to business license, and then there was someone for planning. But we really thinking about, it's one thing to have a fee schedule, we increase the fee schedule, and now look at in terms of what our residents and customers getting what they're paying for, because as we increase business license and our revenues are being increased, are we increasing our level of service?
That's true.
I don't think that we can substantiate the increase in business license if we're not going to improve the service. So we have to reinvest some of that money back into making that process smoother and increasing efficiency. So I really believe we need to add at least one more person to the counter, especially when we look at all of the, we're adding to, Mr. Adams, thank you for that, adding to That's great news. Okay, that, you guys, this is music to my ears. I'm happy about this because my experience was ridiculous. Oh, okay, these are gonna be the text, permit text, so we're adding 2. Okay, so if we can just update the organizational chart to the number of personnel, and that way we can understand, because when I look at the chart, I just see positions. I don't see people or additions or subtractions. Thank you. I have a couple more questions, and then I'll be finished. And could you also provide the clarity in the reduction to the planning budget? Is this a reorg?
The planning budget.
Yes, the planning department.
I'll have Mr. Adams speak to
Okay.
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, we're actually enhancing planning because we're hiring a community development director.
Okay.
Who is a planner.
Oh, awesome.
So, is a planner by profession, so that adds a very significant benefit on the planning side. The reductions you see in the planning department are the removal of the grants operations from the community development. There were no reductions to the planning budget.
Okay.
And also I want to point out that some of the reductions that the, for instance, the city clerk mentioned tonight, that's because what you have before you and what the presentation on tonight was the general fund budget and the Measure P budget. Some of the other pieces are in there, but next week we will have all the other funds, and that's why we wanted you to continue this hearing.
Okay.
So that because next week we will be covering the balance of the funds for the city. And so on display in the city clerk's office, I anticipate by the close of business Thursday will be the complete proposed budget for the city of Compton.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And I know that we're dealing with the departments for general fund and for Measure P, but for next week, can we just make sure that we're looking at the entire budget? And I'm sure that's what you all planned, but I'm just confirming. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Right, Mayor, because I was gonna say that we don't have public works, nor do
Right.
we have water and those kind of things, so it kind of makes everybody wonder, like, or when we talked about reduction, is that what we're getting ready to do, eliminate those departments?
Right,
That's
people
what
were-
people were texting, saying,
Okay.
are we eliminating them? We're not gonna exist anymore, so please make sure that the staff understands that,
Yes, and tonight's hearing was originally scheduled for last week.
Right.
And so we're a week behind in terms of the presentation because you're actually seeing last week's presentation tonight. And the full budget presentation was originally intended for, the balance of the budget was originally intended for tonight. But it's so much, it's just way too much to try to get into one night.
Okay, I appreciate that, but I would like to just make sure we have time to go over the budget in
Yes.
its entirety. So if we need to have a special meeting and start earlier next Tuesday, I support that, so that we can talk about the entire budget at one time. And then also, if you all can provide some more clarity on the $3.6 million reduction in the general fund revenue as to what those reductions were. Or will be, I should say. Okay, thank you. Also, Mr. City Manager, could you just clarify or give your rationale for the transferring of printing to the City Manager's office?
Mayor and Councilman, Madam Clerk, the reproduction unit does more than just print the agendas. They work for all of you here in the city, and they also are in charge of doing the contracts for the reproduction machines throughout the city. So with that said, it just seemed to make more managerial sense for reproduction to be under the city manager's office, since all printing, ordering paper, all of those things are really under the purview of the city manager. I'm not sure how it got to the clerk's office. I understand that at one time it was, I think it was Mr. Duffy that asked the clerk to take it. I'm not averse to her keeping it. It's not something I have to have, but it's just in terms of overall management of reproduction budget, printing materials, printing items for everybody on the council. We just thought it would be a good fit in the city manager's office.
You know, I've had questions about reproduction for quite some time, and I'm never able to get exact clarity, but I just like a detail as to what it is they actually are printing, and if we can actually substantiate the cost with the benefits, because it's a full department that's responsible for printing, and if it's more efficient to, number one, the council invested in a machine that cost nearly $90,000, and so I need to know what is the return on that investment. What is actually being printed? I see these giant signs everywhere, but how is that benefiting the residents of Compton with those taxpayer dollars? Because I've shared with you my concern that they seem political in nature almost, and so we just need to make sure that we're utilizing the funds for the right purposes. And I didn't see Repro's budget parceled out, but I'd like to talk about that in more detail.
Okay.
Next.
And Mayor, I'm not even sure that reproduction printed those. I don't know where they came from. So. No.
How do we have signs up when we don't know where they came from? But nevertheless, that's my chief concern. My number one concern is about the cost and the expenditures of taxpayer dollars. So I just want to ensure that we're utilizing that $90,000 machine to the best of our ability, and that we're not making changes prior to election season, because there will be all types of allegations. So we should kind of just be wise as to what we're doing. Thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
The reason Mr. Duffy asked if I would take reproduction is because each department were hiring outside vendors for their shredding as well as their document imaging. So the machines were purchased to bring the scanning and the shredding citywide. And to my knowledge, I don't believe any other departments are hiring outside vendors. So that was one of the reasons they brought unto me. Now, as far as, I wasn't going to tell the truth, but I think the truth needs to be told. I believe the city manager stated that it's because of the contract, and I really believe it's because I would not meet with someone they wanted me to meet with to take over this citywide machines, copiers. So that's the real reason. So I just wanted you to tell the real reason. I gave you the opportunity to tell the real reason, the truth, and that's why you won it, because there's nothing wrong with reproduction being under the city clerk. Nothing wrong with it.
So I will, it's unfortunate we have to go in this direction.
I know,
However, this is what I'm, this is,
tell me the truth.
just because you believe it doesn't mean it's true.
I got emails to prove it.
Whether, if I ask for someone to come in, whoever the contractor, to analyze what's going on in the city in terms of efficiencies in printing, which costs a lot of money, asking the department head to assist in that and help in the analysis of that, I think is a reasonable request.
But we were already under contract. You could have had the person that we hired to do it. Why pay double?
Are we debating this, or I'm
If you
just
want to.
making my statement?
I'd rather not have a debate about this, because it's not really pertinent to what we're discussing as a whole. I think it seems kind of personal.
It's
but
not personal.
I
Nothing's
just want to just say this.
Because I told him, don't take it personal.
It's not it's not that kind of issue.
I'd rather not.
So
It's not personal.
it's the council's prerogative. If you wish to leave it in the clerk's office, I have no qualms with that. However, I, like you, had some concerns about their printing budget, what they're printing, who can actually give them direction, because we went through that exercise. I think that since they are in charge of every single copier in the city, that is a city manager's responsibility to deal with that budget, not a department head's, whether she's elected or a simple department head. So that was just my thought.
Well, I just like, and it's been the council's directive to ensure that any large-scale contract or any type of annual service or what have you should just be placed out to an RFP to ensure that we're utilizing the funds in a more efficient manner. So if, I don't know when's the last time that contract specifically went out to an RFP, but it's just something that we should consider in terms of not necessarily, and I know that there are certain functions that only one or two companies perform that if it's a specialized service, but if there's an opportunity to go out for an RFP to alleviate any type of questions or any type of issues, I fully support that. And if it's a large contract, or if you believe as a city manager and it is your prerogative to look for ways to save money, and I support that, then let's just go out for an RFP. And that way that can alleviate any issues.
Okay, I agree.
Okay. Relative to the sheriff's contract, I just have a general comment. I just want to ensure that as we are all held accountable for facilitating contracts large and small, that we have some accountability as to the services that we're paying for and actually receiving. I have, and I don't want to be too specific, but I've had law enforcement officers give different quotes of personnel that are actually out in the field and to residents and constituents. And those issues have been brought to my attention. And so I just need to ensure that we're all on one page as to what the city is paying for, the number of deputies that should be out in the field per day, per shift, how many cars that translates to. We all know that there are county islands being policed out of Compton Station that the city is not financially responsible for, but if we're sharing resources beknownst to us or unbeknownst to us, I think that that needs to be clarified, and to ensure that we're paying our fair share, because we're not asking the sheriffs for a discount. We pay our bill every year. I just want to ensure that there is some kind of accountability to the services that are actually being rendered, like any other contract. So I don't know if you all are, there's a way that we can create a standard audit as to the number of deputies that are actually in the field, not in the field, that are on duty, either injured or not. We just need to have a better idea, because in the same way that our staff can go out on leave and we're still financially responsible, that could be the case for us. And so when there are questions that I don't have answers to, I think it's my responsibility to get them. So I would like to get an audit as to how the sheriff's department is being operated for Compton. And then also, I made this request privately, but I'll make it publicly, that, you know, I'm very observant, and when I go to other cities that have the sheriffs, there's cars that their deputies and personnel utilize, say the city's name, and it has their logo and emblem. And it's one thing for me, I think it's great to have, you know, city pride, but I also think about accountability. And so when I see a Linwood sheriff, I know that belongs to the city of Linwood. That's the car that Linwood's paying for. When I see Paramount Station, I know that that's what they're paying for. And so I like to just ensure that the cars that Compton is paying for, that if they find their way in Linwood or in Rancho Dominguez, that we have some accountability.
We're already working on putting the logos on the cars.
Okay, beautiful. And I just wanted to say it publicly, because I've said it privately, so that the residents know that we're following up on some of these items. Also, I just like to bring, I just have two things. One is for Public Works, just a reminder that when the Public Works Director, whom I think is doing a good job, came forward with the CIP projects for the next 5 years. Beautiful presentation. I requested timelines. You all did fulfill the timelines, but I'd like to be able to have that document brought forward with the budget, and I've said this before, so that we actually can approve the Public Works 5-year budget with this actual budget, because if we're looking at expenditures that will be obviously utilized in this fiscal year and fiscal years preceding this, this should be something that's adopted with this specific budget so that we stick to that plan. Because what happens is it could be a whole new team next year and they have a new directive as to how these funds are used, and then at the end of the day, the citizens don't receive the promises that they were made publicly. So I just believe that those projects that were approved by council, we all agree on that 5-year timeline. Let's approve that budget with this budget so that we're all clear as to what we're doing and how these funds should be used. And then lastly, with Measure P, happy to see the committee getting ready to meet. I'd like, and I made this request before, but I'd like an item to be brought back to the council, and I'm happy to work with the city attorney and manager on this, but some proposed minimum percentages as to how these funds will be used. I'm fully aware that Measure P is a general tax, but the taxpayers approved this special tax for specific uses which were a part of the actual ballot proposal, which included streets, lighting, public safety, and then general cleanliness. So illegal dumping, graffiti, and also I believe as part of public safety, they also included gang intervention, which includes parks and things like that. So I'd just like to see some percentages brought forward for council discussion so that regardless of whom the council is in 20 years from now, as Measure P does not have a sunset, we want to ensure that those percentages are a part of our municipal code. And if there's a council that wishes to change that, it will require a move of that body at that time, and hopefully they'll have the support of their constituents at that time frame. But at least we can be on one page as to the minimum percentages that are going to be used. And I'll give an example, and I appreciate the way you all broke down the Measure P expenditure funds into percentages. And so we currently have, I believe it was 55% of Measure P expenditures, yes, for CIP, which is engineering, construction, basically street improvements. And then we have 10% for a reserve, which was one of the items specified for the ballot initiative, and then also law enforcement, which is public safety. So I'd like to be able to just have something come forward for the council to discuss so that we can be on one page as to how these funds will be utilized.
So you would like these percentages parsed out in a little more detail, or you want bare bones minimum?
Just bare bones minimum.
So that they can't go below that.
Exactly.
In other words, if you want to set aside a 10% reserve every year, that'll be the minimum.
Right, or maybe 5% is the ceiling. Excuse me,
Depending
is the floor.
on how the budget goes.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
And maybe, of course, we want to be able to reserve as much as possible. But for instance, at least 50% of Measure P should be for streets always.
Okay.
Because that was the main concern of the residents when they approved it.
Well, in moving forward, maybe 5 years from now, you might not need 50%.
Right.
You might need but so that we'll put some flexibility in that.
Right.
But you'd like a baseline minimum.
Right, just
Okay.
the minimum, and in terms of, we're at the point to where we're focusing on addressing 20 years, 30 years of neglect. But the goal is to always have a capital improvement program that is providing slurry seals or making certain enhancements that are always providing more, investment into our streets. And so there will always be a need to expand, obviously not to the same degree as $5.9 million a year, but there should be some type of improvements always. So maybe the appropriate minimum would be 25%, or we can even get specific. In the first 10 years, the minimum is 50%, and
Okay.
after 10 years, it could be a minimum of 25%, or based on what the plan is.
Okay.
And I just think that our policy should match the plan,
Okay.
so that it's set in stone, and that way the citizens can rest assured that their funds are being used the way that they want them spent.
Okay. We'll bring some options to you with some explanation of what our logic is in making those baselines.
Beautiful, and I like Public Works to really weigh in on that, because I know that they're looking at the streets as probably a 20-year time frame. So if he can give the recommendation as to over the next 5 years. Obviously, it's heavily investment, but over the next 10, 15, 20 years, at what point will we be at a maintenance threshold? And then we can include that into our policy. And that way, you know, we're all on one page. Yes, sir.
Excuse me. Our insurance portfolio is set to come back to council, and I anticipate a reduced amount to give some budget relief.
Oh, awesome.
Hopefully it'll be before you next week.
Thank you. And I just want to say publicly, and we've said it privately, the city attorney has, in his office, his team has really done a great job in working to recover some of our taxpayer funds with some of the outstanding lawsuits that we've had. And so he was able to provide some relief last year and again this year, so we appreciate that. You're welcome. And that concludes my questions for this evening. Madam City Clerk?
Your consent agenda.
Thank you. Consent items are routine and expected to be non-controversial. They will be acted upon by the council at one time without discussion unless a council member requests for an item to be removed or discussed. Discussion? Roll call?
Councilperson Galvan?
Yes.
McCoy? Yes. Sharif?
Yes.
Mayor Brown?
Yes.
Item number 6, under reports of officers, staff is requesting to remove Gertrude McGee, Margaret Dawson, Minnie Sawyer, Deborah Ward, Regina Hampton, and Joyce Shipment. Some have either moved out of the city, or deceased, ill. So for various reasons, staff is requesting that those individuals be removed from the Commission for Women.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question for the city clerk. Do they have the, can they make someone an honorary member of this organization?
They took
We
some, they're
did.
taking somebody else.
Ms. Shipman was an honorary member, and they're requesting her to be removed because she can no longer even fulfill that
Okay.
as well.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Councilperson Galvan?
Yes.
McCoy?
Yes.
Sharif?
Yes.
Mayor Brown?
Yes.
Madam City Clerk, can you bring us back a list with the people who have applied for the Commission for Women? When you have, you know, not next week or anything, but.
Yes, I don't think I have any, but if I have
If you do,
applications,
Okay, please. Thank you.
we're at City Attorney's reports.
Madam Mayor, City Council, we have 3 proposed discussions for this evening. First is conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, Pruitt versus City of Compton, Los Angeles Superior Court case number BC 609291. That's pursuant to California Government Code Section 54956.9A, and conference with legal counsel anticipated litigation, 2 potential cases pursuant to California Government Code Section 54956.9B. Requesting a motion.
Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilperson Galvan?
Yes.
McCoy?
Yes.
Sharif?
Yes.
Mayor Brown?
Yes.
Item number 8, under unfinished business, is an ordinance of the City Council, City of Compton, amending Section 12-9, preferential permit parking program of the Compton Municipal Code in its entirety. This is to waive the reading.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilperson Galvan?
Yes.
McCoy?
Yes.
Sharif?
Yes.
Mayor Brown?
Yes.
And on the adoption,
Is there a motion for discussion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Mr. City Attorney, can you give a brief overview of the permit parking that we're proposing? The preferential parking, I'm sorry.
Yes, so the state law allows for a permitted parking program. The goal of the program is to alleviate the effects of lack of on-street parking of certain residential streets in the city, caused primarily by non-resident car congestion, by providing reasonably available and convenient parking for the adjacent residents. In 2007, we had our first permit parking program. It was in, the district created was in Richland Farms, and it is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week program. There had been a few revisions to that ordinance trying to address the various lifestyle needs of restricting parking for 24 hours a day. We had extended holiday schedules. We had health care visits identified in the ordinance. And this change, this program that's being proposed will allow for a more narrowly tailored program to address specific issues, specific times, whether it's overnight parking, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., or a certain time on a weekend, depending on the assessment made by staff. So the program, the districts can be proposed either by residents to council, or council can have an assessment done to create the districts. The districts would be created by resolution, and that will allow for a more quicker proposal to council, as opposed to ordinances taking 2 readings and a 30-day wait period. And it's less, it's 3 permits as opposed to 5 for the health care under this proposed program.
3 permits as a, what did you say?
As opposed to 5.
Okay.
So it was 5, now it's 3?
Correct.
Okay.
If you have any questions, I can.
Any council questions, comments? Thank you. Roll call.
Councilperson Galvan?
Yes.
McCoy?
Yes.
Sharif?
Yes.
Mayor Brown?
Yes.
Item, I'm sorry.
Item number 9. Oh. I received a request to pull this item, not unless it's no longer the pleasure of the council.
Yes, I requested the item to be pulled, so hope we can bring it back next week.
Is that possible, Mr. City Attorney? Will that change the timeline?
It would change the potential implementation timeline. And council can vote to pull the item. Or if staff.
If staff could pull it, or I've seen the mayor pull items before just by saying I want to get it pulled. We never really vote on that.
I don't know that's specific
Okay.
issue.
What do you do? It's the pleasure of the council to remove it, to pull it.
Or staff could pull it, like the city manager.
Correct.
Is it the pleasure of the council to pull the item?
It was
The-
the attorney.
You the city attorney.
I'm sorry?
I said, he said staff, I said it would be the attorney.
Oh, the city attorney would have to pull this item? Is that what you're saying?
No, I guess
Oh.
you're saying we can pull it? Is that what you're saying?
The pleasure of
Council can pull it. Staff is proposing it. If staff wants to pull
Oh,
it,
okay.
they can pull it. An item can be voted to be pulled by council.
So basically what you're saying, you're pulling it tonight and bring it back next week?
Yeah.
That's the request.
Yes.
No? Vote on it.
Or the city manager can pull it.
Councilman McCoy, where are you on it?
I don't have a problem pulling it, it doesn't.
Yeah, the only reason I want to request it pulled is because one of the other council ladies not here, and the whole purpose of this item was to have the council body determine the outcome of it. So I thought that it's only fair if we pull the item, and I think the city manager should pull the item since it's his item. I don't think it has to go to a vote.
Is this your item, city manager?
Oh, this is
This your item?
Right, is everything all right?
If the council desires me to pull the item, I can pull the item. I'm requesting the item be pulled.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Next item.
Okay, so item number 9 is being pulled. Item number 10 is a resolution of the City Council, City of Compton, authorizing the city manager to amend the Public Works Department 2017-18 fiscal year budget to delete 1 administrative analyst 1 and 1 office aide position and add 2 administrative assistant positions.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes. Mr. City Manager, can you just explain what we're doing and why?
Mayor Pro Tem and council, the Public Works Director has, wants to look at some staffing needs that we have in the Public Works Department. And these are higher level positions. One of his staff members, and there's a list that we can actually pull from to fill these positions. And so we really would like a little bit higher level position in this department because we have quite a few robust programs going on.
Very good. Thank you.
Any additional discussion? Roll call?
Councilperson Galvin?
Yes.
McCoy?
Yes.
Sharif?
Yes.
Mayor Brown?
Yes.
Item number 11 is a resolution of the City Council, City of Compton, authorizing the release, exoneration of the monument security deposit and acceptance of the subdivision monuments for parcel map number 72903 for the Brickyard project.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Could you just give a quick description of this item, Mr. City Manager?
Very briefly, there's a subdivision improvement agreement. This is part of conditions of approval for the project. Those conditions of approval have been met, and so the bond can be returned or released. So we need to pass this item by the council.
Thank you. Roll call?
Councilperson Galvin?
Yes.
McCoy?
Yes.
Sharif?
Yes.
Mayor Brown?
Yes.
Item number 12 is a resolution of the City Council, City of Compton, amending the 2017-18 fiscal year budget to transfer funds between accounts, rescinding resolution number 24745, ratifying the construction contract with PALP Inc., DBA Excel Paving Company for the street rehabilitation project, and reissuing a purchase order in the amount of $1,775,400.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Mayor Brown.
Yes, ma'am.
I had spoken with the city manager regarding this because I know, and he was explaining to me, so I just think he should just explain to the community what we're really doing here, because these streets that I'm looking at, I think they were supposed to have been taken care of on the CBDG grant. Am I correct, Mr. City Manager?
Yes, these streets were actually identified back in 2013 and should have been completed years ago. We are finally getting to these streets, many of which have been in disrepair for a number of years. Speaking with the Controller's Office, we move funds around to meet the actual budgetary needs from various funds, Measure R, Measure M, and some other legitimate funds to get these projects completed in a reasonable time at the council's request, and also to fall within the guidelines of the appropriate uses of the funding.
I'm looking at the account numbers here that the money is coming from and where it's going to in order to, for that, but it doesn't say what fund it is. It just give me an account number.
It says from contingency.
From contingency, I don't know. You're taking it from here,
And they're putting it in
Then-
maintenance and repair.
from, this is where it's going here, other contract services.
These are the ones it's coming from.
I'm looking at where it's coming from. I know where it's coming from, but I'm looking at where it's going to.
Mr. Johnson, if you could
Right.
come down.
I'm looking
and-
at other contract services.
That's where it goes to.
I know, but it still doesn't tell me what fund it is, what fund it is. That's what I'm saying.
Mr. Adams, are you going to assist?
Good afternoon, good evening, Mayor and Council. Okay, the fund names by number. 2300 is gas tax. Okay, 1004 is Measure P, rather.
Measure P. That's where it's coming from. It's coming from Measure P, the contingency,
And
and also it's also coming from the
1520
gas tax.
Measure M.
That's
Measure
what-
R. Yeah. 1520 is Measure M. 1520 is Measure M.
Okay, here where it says from 1004, that's Measure P. 2300 is, you send us gas tax, both of those gas taxes, am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's the gas tax. Then it's going to 1004 and 2300.
Council Lady, it's going from those accounts to the other contract services to
The
pay.
other contract
Right, to
services.
pay for it, yes,
Right,
ma'am.
That's exactly what I'm looking at, right, okay. Okay. That's why I'm just looking at where it's coming from and where it's going to. And the reason I'm asking that is because with the gas tax, we had some concerns here, some issues, and I just wanted to make sure that the money that is being taken, where it's coming from, is actually being taken from the correct account.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's what I'm looking for.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Any additional discussion? Roll call?
Councilperson Galvin?
Yes.
McCoy?
Yes.
Sharif?
Yes.
Mayor Brown?
Yes.
Item number 13 is a resolution of the City Council, City of Compton, rescinding resolution number 24762, ratifying the professional service agreement with NV5 for construction support and inspection services for the street rehabilitation project, and reissuing a purchase order in the amount of $171,995.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. City Manager?
Mayor and Council, this particular item is the contract management support services for the previous item that we had before you. When you do large public works projects, you have a contract management firm work with your contractors on these items.
Thank you, sir. Any additional discussion? Roll call?
Councilperson Galvin?
Yes.
McCoy?
Yes.
Sharif?
Yes.
Mayor Brown?
Yes.
Item number 14 is a resolution of the City Council, City of Compton, amending the 2017-18 fiscal year budget to transfer funds within the Public Works Department, authorizing the city manager to enter into a construction services contract with and establish a purchase order for EBS General Engineering, Inc. for citywide pothole repair services in the amount of $640,000.
So,
Second.
second.
Discussion? Mr. City Manager, could you just give a brief description of this item and then also on the bids that were received for the members of the public?
Yes, ma'am. Mayor and council, at the council's request, we put out a RFP for pothole repair citywide due to the large volume of potholes here in the city, and we wanted to get them done in a short period of time. Bids were submitted from Access Pacific at $725,000, Alameda Construction at $940,000, and EBS General Engineering at $640,000. PALP and PAVCO, PALP submitted $839,000, and PAVCO submitted $683,000. So based upon the bids that were received, a review of the submitted bid documents, it was determined that EBS Engineering submitted the lowest, most responsive bid, and staff recommends awarding that construction contract to EBS. The money is coming from Measure P. It's going from the contingency account of Measure P into the other contract services to pay the services of this particular contract.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
as I look at the amount, the different companies, one with $940,000, another one was $725,000, one was $839,000. I'm trying to figure out here, since there's such a big difference between the pricing here, are we getting the same service that we should be getting? Exactly what has happened here as far as that difference in this scope? Is there a difference in the scope of work or what?
They have to bid on the same scope of work. So when the RFPs go out, they have to bid on the exact same scope of work, and the engineering and all that's required, they go out and take a look at the location, and then they submit their bids based on that. They can't submit a bid from different measurements, weights, and those kinds of things. So it really boils down to what their services cost on their estimate.
Okay, so won't look up and have some unforeseen charges coming later on? Shouldn't?
Well, you shouldn't. I mean, there's always that possibility, but you should not have. There's a 10% contingency with that, and it's not going to exceed that.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional discussion? Roll call?
Councilperson Galvin?
Yes.
McCoy? Yes. Sharif?
Yes.
Mayor Brown?
I'm sorry, I did want to just make a note.
Starting on California.
I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Just relative to this contract, I know we had our city employees come forward just discussing their ability to fill potholes and to do some other services throughout the city. And so my request is to get an inventory of our existing city staff. I'd like to know what they're certified to do. I know that some people are able to do sewers. When we talk about changing some of the street signs, some people are certified safety-wise to be able to do that type of work, some are not. So if we can just get a full inventory of the number of public works staff that we have and what they're actually certified to do and what their capacity could be, and that way we can all be on one page as to what city employees can do and that are not current. And then when I say can, not that they are not able, but based on their actual training, what we have insurance for, and then also based on the number of employees that we currently have, what the actual turnaround time would be to fulfill some of these projects. Because our number one goal is to provide a great level of service to residents, which a portion of that does include timeliness and our ability to turn around these projects quickly for the money that they're paying through their taxes. So I'd just like to be able to get an idea so that we're all clear as to what our current staffing levels are, what they're able to do, and that way when we are looking at bringing on contract services, we're all clear that it's because there is a definite need and there's a time benefit that the residents can enjoy. Thank you. And my vote is yes. Thank you. I'm so sorry.
We're at council comments.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. Councilman Galvin.
Yes. I want to invite everybody out tomorrow evening Wednesday, June 20th, from 6 to 8 p.m. I'm going to be having my first homeless task force meeting. I've invited several community members, churches. All my colleagues are welcome to join. This is for everybody. I made it public. We're going to have city staff there, representative from sheriffs, representative from all the city departments, and we're going to come together and put ideas together, put our heads together, and try to help tackle this issue that's really a big issue right now in our community. So I hope to see everybody there, and I hope everybody comes excited to be a part of this, and I hope that everybody comes with great ideas. This is nothing about, if you want to be a councilman someday or something like that. No, this is all to focus on the homeless crisis that's in our city right now. So I hope to see everybody there. Also, I want to request a resolution from our city attorney and as well as from my colleagues. I want to request a resolution supporting to end the separation of families. The city of Compton and Americans across the country are extremely concerned and need to stand up against the current policy of the federal administration that separates children from their parents seeking refuge and asylum that is currently happening here in California. This policy is torturing families across the world. Let's get this straight. These children internment camps are not internment. These children were incarcerated and put in cages. This is unacceptable, and we, the Compton residents, need to stand against this cruel and inhumane policy. So I hope we bring a resolution back to the body so we can approve support of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman Galvine. Councilwoman McCoy?
Yes. Just a few things. Let's see. First of all, I want to apologize to the residents that lived in the area of Central and 156th Street. They were receiving brown water, and it was due to the contractor that's out there working, sheared one of our fire hydrants. Water department is on top of it. They were delivering notices, hand delivering notices to get things repaired, as well as doing flushes to get the brown water. So it was due to a fire hydrant that was sheared. It wasn't the city didn't do flushing without notifying the residents. It was an accident that took place out there. So I apologize, and the water department assured me that they're on top of it. And on June 30th, I'll do another Compton Creek cleanup from Rosecrans to El Segundo, 8 a.m., and I will be bringing another update, the exact location, what time I think we're gonna gather at 8 a.m. But I want to invite anyone that's interested in doing the cleanup, come out and help us clean up. We know that cleaning, in general, we have a lot of dumping, but let's come out and help the area that we can. So it's June 30th, 8 a.m., and we're going to start from Rosecrans or from El Segundo and go to Rosecrans. Mr. City Manager, I want an update about the traffic signal now. I know that the RFP was going out. Have we gotten any back? When will we be getting a resolution to council so that we could get to working on that? And the status of this elevator. I don't know what's happening with that elevator. I don't know why. I just don't know. I'm just shaking my head at this point about that elevator. And so please bring us back an update on that elevator. And let's see, I attended on Friday night with the movie in the park at Tucker Park. It was the first of the summer series between Parks and Recreation, the Sheriff's Department, and Faith Inspirational Church. And the movie was Boss Baby. It was very well attended. We had a ball out there. It was a little cold, so the next one in the next district, maybe it'll be a little warmer, but it was really nice. And I did get to pass by my community garden, and everything's going well. I have large, let's see, what do we have out there? We have peppers, we have tomatoes, I have some squash, so it'll be ready by the end of the summer. We'll be ready to actually disseminate the vegetables out there. And let's see, I got another text about this. So let's see, I think I just have one more thing. Today is National Sickle Cell Awareness Day. For those of you who know someone with sickle cell, it is a very painful disease. And so I would just like you to stop and take a moment and send up a prayer for anyone that is battling sickle cell. This is Sickle Cell Awareness Day, so thank you. And that's all I have for today. Oh, Los Angeles Unified School District invites you to a job fair on June 21st from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the East LA Occupational Center. They'll have entry-level opportunities. Come bring your high school diploma to the event. Parking is free, and come out. They'll have entry-level positions as well as other positions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman McCoy. Councilwoman Sharif?
Thank you, Mayor Brown. I will be hosting Compton's quarterly business roundtable on Wednesday, July the 25th at 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Dollar High Community Center. This is an opportunity for you to network with local businesses, meet law enforcement, and city staff. Our guest speakers are David Ford of SCE, Cecil McLean of GSR Corporation, and Deborah Watson Triggs of State Farm Insurance. And a light lunch will be served. Mr. City Manager, I requested a while back when you came and took this position to form a task force in regarding this homeless situation. Could you give me an update as to what is happening with that task force?
Council Lady, we have, actually the task force meets on a ad hoc basis. I have met and made relationships since I've been here with several community-based organizations that deal with the homeless, including Hopix, PATH, LASA, and work closely with Delmontia Green, who is our housing manager. I've also recently met with you as well as some of the legal advocates for the homeless recently, and those discussions are ongoing. We're putting together a summit at your request in July, on July 19th, very similar to Councilman Galvan's, that will happen tomorrow. And at that summit, we will discuss regional issues with cities such as Paramount, Linwood, Carson, LA County, the cities that are contiguous here to Compton, on how to address homelessness on a regional basis. I've also invited representatives from the County Sheriff's Department that just deal specifically with the homeless, and I will be reaching out to some actual homeless folks to come talk to the group that particular evening also.
Okay, thank you. Also, I attended the Poinsettia Block Club, and there are some concerns in regards to the issues there on Long Beach Boulevard. And I did speak with you in regards to the no cruising signs and the no loitering signs that be put up along that street, along Long Beach Boulevard. And I know that you said that you had requested those to be ordered, so you have any idea, give me a timeline as when we may have those signs back?
I'll have to get back to you. I sent that email out yesterday. I just took a look at what Hollywood is doing with their prostitution abatement issues.
Right.
And just for the audiences, so they're aware, some of the mitigating measures that cities use are one-way directions for the streets after certain hours, no parking, no overnight parking in front of the residences from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., and permit parking in particular areas, and then increased lighting, as well as undercover and additional sting operations in that area, which actually currently go on now.
Well, could you, since you talked about the lighting, could you please tell me what is happening as far as the lights there? I reported this a while back there on Long Beach Boulevard, starting right there at Alondra, all the way down to Murrah. All those streets are lights out. It's out on the west side, and I reported that, and I just wonder where are we as far as trying to get those lights repaired.
I'll have to get back to you on the exact where we are with those lights, because we were repairing the lights on Alondra between Santa Fe and Long Beach Boulevard. Those particular lights were victims of, I guess they're victims, where the city was a victim of copper theft, in which our power boxes were compromised and the copper was stolen out of those particular boxes. We do have, there was one person who was actually electrocuted stealing copper 3 weeks ago from a box on Alondra Boulevard. The lights on Long Beach Boulevard, there is actually a pole down on that particular, at that particular location. So I will give you a status on when the pole will be put back up and when those lights will be on. And then I'll also give you an update on how many lights up and down Long Beach Boulevard from Greenleaf all the way into to Rosecrans.
Is out. Okay, thank
No,
you.
they're not all out, but I'll give you a status on which lights are out, yes.
Okay, thank you. I had the opportunity to attend a retreat this week, this Friday and Saturday with the Gateway Cities Council of Governments, which is the COG. And the retreat went really well. We had a lot of different cities throughout the region. There's 27 cities in the Gateway Cities region. And we had quite a few cities that was there and came out and participated. It really gave us an opportunity to really actually get to know each other, because other than having this retreat, we just really show up at a meeting. So it gave us an opportunity to really get to know each other and also discuss some of the issues that we're all facing here in the Gateway Cities COG. And one of the main things one of the main ones was definitely the homelessness, because we all are inundated with this issue. And we're looking at our Assemblymember Mike Gibson had brought forth a bill, AB 1795, and right now we are having a discussion with, I am having a discussion with him to see whether this bill would be brought back, because this is a bill that really will give us an opportunity with the mentally health challenges that we're dealing with to actually address some of those mental health challenges that we're out there with our homeless people. So we're all trying to look at how we can support the bill and gather and garner some support in order to try to make sure that we can possibly get this bill passed once it come back before the Assembly. So that was something that Mr. City Manager and I talked about that before. So that is something that really should be coming back, and I'm happy about that. There are still some concerns in regarding the I-17 Freeway Committee. They still are having some difficulties as far as getting a quorum, and therefore they haven't been able to have any meetings. So therefore, they still having that challenge there in regards to that. So that's at I-17. So we'll know exactly what was happening with the project there on the I-17 freeway. And we're all going to be dealing with CalPERS. And so we had a panel that actually discussed the issues of CalPERS, and also was giving us some possible solutions as to how we may be able to address the issue. So that is something that I would like to sit down with you and have a much deeper discussion in regarding it, maybe share with you the information to see whether or not we can possibly start moving forward as doing some of the things that they are proposing or suggesting that we may be able to do in order to try to make sure that a lot of the interest that's going to be attached there, that we may be able to get past some of that interest rate and everything. So I will definitely have share that information with you, and so we can have a much deeper discussion in regarding this, Mr. City Manager. And we also spoke about the public, the P3, which is public-private partnerships for municipalities. Is really the funding source where you can get different businesses to come in with different with the municipalities as far as dealing with redevelopment. One of the projects that they were looking at and shared with us is the one in there in Long Beach, where the old courthouse used to be. They're doing a great redevelopment piece there, and they did it using private partners and everything along with the city, and they shared that information with us, which was very interesting for us to know that that is something possible that we could possibly use if need be, if we can get the businesses, certain businesses to come in with us as far as trying to do some things. So that was interesting. So thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Just a couple of announcements for the members of the public. So sorry, I had a technical difficulty. The Measure P Oversight Committee meeting will be held June 28th at 5:30 p.m. at the community meeting room. Even though there is a committee designated for this, it is open to the public, and I encourage residents to come out and find out how their taxpayer dollars are being spent, and also to get to know your oversight committee members. The Hub Radio Flavor Fest is June 30th at 12 p.m. at 700 North Alameda. There will be food trucks, live music, a cook-off, and fun for the entire family. So please come out and support our local organizations. Also, today is the celebration of Juneteenth. This date marks the moment when emancipation finally reached those in the deepest parts of the Confederacy. The Emancipation Proclamation was signed in 1863. The news didn't reach certain parts of Texas until 2 years later. We talked a lot in detail about certain items of the budget, and I just want to confirm that we bring forward code enforcement's matrix. I know we discussed, and obviously we don't have the ability legally to enforce quotas, but we should have some goals and objectives for what we expect our productivity to be for code enforcement. So as the council provides additional resources and funding to this department, I'd like to know, City Manager, what your objectives are for this investment of our tax dollars in the next budget meeting. Also, there has been a farmer's market operating in the city of Compton by Archimate Cities, their independent organization, and the farmers market has been at no cost to the city of Compton, and it's for the entire benefit of the residents. It was grant funded partially by the USDA, and they received one of the highest marks that you can receive for providing farmers markets to our population. So I encourage Compton residents to go out. There are fresh vegetables, fruits, really great organization that's putting it on, and they've been doing it every Saturday at the Transit Center front area. And so please come on out and get some fresh vegetables. Yes, ma'am. They do have local farmers, but they're in the immediate vicinity, so they try to use local people, and they've actually provided discounted rates for the first 2 weeks to hope that more local people can participate. But they do have a few local vendors as well. Thank you. Mr. City Manager, I know we talked about the additional parking at the library, and I just want to ensure that we're on a timeline to make that happen for the new fiscal year.
Once the budget is passed, Mayor and Council, even before we actually hire the security personnel, we'll use some of the funds to pay overtime so that the guys can be out there.
Okay, great. And hopefully the residents will take advantage of the parking. Lastly, I'd like to request an update on some of the pilot lighting projects that we provided to the city. I know that you had your staff following up on some of those projects, but I'd like to know when we'll be bringing the item forward for council consideration.
Madam Mayor and Council, there were documents given to the Mayor and Council last week. I reviewed those documents over the weekend. The city attorney, and I discussed them with the city attorney at our Monday meeting. We have a number of questions, and I will be meeting with FES, which is the lighting contractor that's looking at the pilot project, to clarify that pilot agreement. That meeting is on Monday, and shortly after that, I've also directed the General Services staff to begin the staff report, so that once I have all the clarification that I need to be able to answer the questions for the Mayor and Council when the item comes forward, we will put that out before you. So I'm hoping in the next 3 weeks to 1 month.
Okay, great.
The proposal is very detailed.
Awesome. And then lastly, I know that the council made provisions for additional law enforcement for the summertime. And I'd like to just make sure that, and this is more, I guess, for Captain Thatcher, but that the messaging that's provided to the residents are consistent, because it's been brought to my attention that it's an idea that the council is not investing in additional law enforcement, or that we're not providing the tools and resources that we need. And I can say that when items are brought to our attention, we do have an opportunity to respond to them. And I think the goal is always to provide the highest level of public safety that we can afford. And so I always support law enforcement. I'm going to continue to support the sheriffs. I'm going to continue to support additional details and various programs that can benefit the residents. And I just want to ensure that we're on one page for what the focus areas will be for the summertime enforcement that the council has approved. And then also for what those details will actually look like, because I know that we've made recommendations for some more park enforcement, but then also for human trafficking details. So I'd just like to understand as a council what the direction will be. And I know that you've made some recommendations.
Yes, so you guys, we'll bring back a detailed deployment report. And rather than actually purchase additional deputies that would require increase in the contract, we looked at overtime. And then we found funding that does not burden the general fund for that. My recollection of what you'd like the Sheriff's Department to look at are the homeless issues, illegal dumping, parks after dark, and then dealing with our parks issues, and then also increases in summertime violence.
Okay, great. Awesome. And trafficking? Yes. And yes. Thank you. And then also, I had an opportunity to attend the Poinsettia Block Club with the city attorney, and he gave some updates on what the city is doing as well. And the Block Club, they have established a task force, and they're looking forward to coordinating with the city and with law enforcement. So we'll provide some additional information, and their goal is to just be more engaged and involved, and to support the efforts of the city and law enforcement in working together to combat issues of trafficking. And just for the members of the public, the city manager, we had discussed different cities and different measures of how they've been able to address trafficking that spills over into the residential areas through a variety of measures, and the city manager discussed them briefly today. But I think it'd probably be great to bring something forward to the public to just discuss what these measures look like, because it's not just one street, but we have a whole neighborhood all the way over to Santa Fe, and then also on the other side. And the goal is not to just push human trafficking either to the city of Linwood or Long Beach, but to really address the root causes. And then I follow the legislation that's happening regarding this issue, and back in February, I believe was the month, there was a law change in terms of trafficking being, in the recent past, human trafficking was allowed on certain websites. And because those websites were shut down, now trafficking is being pushed back out to the street when it was done behind closed doors. So we're seeing an increase in foot traffic with human trafficking. And so that's something that we cannot ignore, especially when our kids are involved, and no one should have to walk or drive down the street in main thoroughfares and see people that are barely clothed. And I think that we need to ensure that as a city, and also with our law enforcement, because I consider them being a part of the city, that we establish what's acceptable behavior, because sometimes you can be numb to things that you see often. And I don't think we should ever be numb to trafficking or other issues that plague our city. So I want to be talking more about this issue as I work with the residents and with Councilwoman Sharif. And this is not something new. We've had areas of focus before the VRN. We've had task forces. We've worked with other cities. I know that Councilwoman Sharif spearheaded this, but with the change in the law and with the summertime coming up, we kind of try to project what big issues will be for the city, quality of life-wise, and this is going to be one of them. So I'd like to talk more about that and ensure that our resources are going to address this issue. And may we have a motion to adjourn? Excuse me, recess to closed session.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilperson McCoy? Yes. Sharif?
Yes.
Mayor Brown?
Yes.
May we have a motion to reconvene the Compton City Council meeting?
So move.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilperson McCoy?
Yes.
Sharif?
Yes.
Mayor Brown?
Yes. We will now have a report out from our city attorney.
Yes, council met in closed session. The only absent council member was Councilperson Zarita. The discussion was conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, Pruitt versus City of Compton, Los Angeles Superior Court case number BC 609291. No reportable action taken in that matter pursuant to California Government Code section 54956.9A. Two other discussions were under conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation. Pursuant to California Government Code section 54956.9B, and no reportable action taken in those matters as well. That will conclude the report out.
Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. May we have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilperson McCoy?
Yes.
Sharif?
Yes.
Mayor Brown?
Yes. Thank you and good night.
Good night.